Michael Nagy here with Jiggy Jag TV and discoveringbands.com. And for everyone watching the show's video on my channel, I'm helping support the awesome artists I feature. And today I'm here with Madil Hardis. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. And you want to start off and tell the viewers a little bit about your musical background?
Sure. So I've been a musician all my life. I trained to be a classical singer, then branched out doing all kinds of more modern types of music, anything really from metal to prog rock to electronic music. And then over the last few years, I developed this project, which is a sort of a mixture of neoclassical and ethereal and dark electronic, I would say, or electronica. And I've been releasing music for the last 4 or 5 years, collaborated with lots of artists, and currently working on my first solo album.
Awesome. I see you've done a lot of work with Ashbury Heights, and that's probably helped get your name out a lot too.
Yeah, it was great to work with them. Anders is such a great composer, and literally anything that he puts out is just so deep, and you know, it's been a really great experience working with them, also with Jazz, who directed the last music video for our collaboration. So yeah, those are great people to work with.
Personally, I love the song Wild Eyes. You did an amazing job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I still remember when I first listened to that. I was somewhere on holiday, and I downloaded the first version of the instrumental, and I was just blown away and just listened to it, I think 10 times in a row. And it was love at first sight, really.
And tell us about the new Empathy Test cover you just did.
Right, yeah. I've been following their work for a while, and I really love, I mean, especially the deepness of the lyrics and also the music, of course. And so I've been thinking about doing a cover song for a while, and I had like a few ideas of which songs to pick. And yeah, I reached out to them, and they were gracious enough to allow me to do a cover, and preferred for me to do this one, which I've done. And every time I do a fair amount of covers, and every time I do one, it's just so interesting how much still there is to explore in a song, even if it's one that you've listened to 1,000 times. It's just nice to recreate it, go deep into the chord structure, and find your own way around it, really.
Now, do you have some other artists you'd like to still work with in the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's a long list of artists I'd love to work with. Probably one of them is IMX. I've been following Chris's work for a while, obviously, so that'd be great. I don't know. I'm always open for collaborations, and especially if it's something that's maybe a little bit different from what I do. I've worked a lot with Nature of Wires, and their work is there's a lot of skill behind that production, and the way that he works with synths is just great. So I love that, because that's something I don't really do. So I've also work with some synthwave artists, and I quite enjoy that. It's a genre I really love listening to, and most of the time there won't be vocals, so it's interesting to try and combine those things.
And when do you plan to have your solo album out by?
So, I mean, I haven't announced the release date yet, because I've made the mistake with other projects in the past to set a release date and then being forced to stick to it, or, you know, postpone it. I'm still planning on doing this. I'm 80% done with the composing side of things. There are a few collaborations, remixes to be wrapped up, but I'm looking forward to really releasing something that represents me as an artist in this moment, because a lot of most of my work so far with this project was, you know, every month I would release a single or maybe have a few collaborations, and then you look back at it and you see this body of work, and a lot of it, you know, is me from the past, and now basically creating 12 or 15 songs that are all now. And, you know, what I'm concerned with now, it was quite interesting to figure out thematically where I wanted to set this in. But I think the bulk of the work is done, so it's now just producing and packaging.
And after that, do you plan on bringing the live shows? Do you plan on doing any live shows?
You know, I've thought about this a lot. It would be nice to perform these songs on stage. I think I'd have to find some musicians. I really enjoy having a lot of musicians with me on stage and to create a show that's very different from what the music is, when it's produced. So I'm considering it, but I don't have any concrete plans. I think if there's, maybe a festival gig on the horizon, then that would be for me the time to figure out how to bring it to stage. So not quite yet.
Now, if people want to find you online on social media, look you up, how do they do that?
Well, you can find me literally anywhere with Madil Hardis. So I'm on Instagram at Madil Hardis, on Spotify. My website is madilhardis.com. So there are all the links there.
And where would you like to see yourself in maybe a few years from now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think as I said, there's a long list of people I'd love to collaborate with. I'd also really, like the idea of exploring this for the stage. At the moment, I'm working on a few songs, not for this album, but for later, that are a bit more in the trance sort of direction. So more beats, a little bit more up tempo. So that's something I'm trying to explore and see if that's going to be something for Madil Hardis or whether it's a different project. So just kind of expanding and seeing where it takes me genre-wise. I've done a lot of work in jazz recently, so maybe some influences will spread into my work there. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've listened to a good amount of your work, and you're very well diverse in your genres, how you're able to do a bunch of different genre work.
Well, thank you. It's I think it's just what you pick up as you go along. Like I've worked with a lot of different artists. I still do classical singing, so that's an influence that's always going to be there. I'm also going into a bit more metal again after a long break from that sort of genre. So I'm exploring some doom metal, doom stoner metal maybe. So I'm always open because I think it's what I listen to is very diverse. So I always try. I think I've lost you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. What are some of your influences with different bands and things you listen to?
I think a lot of early influences are probably classical. So I listened to a lot of Bach and Mozart when I was young. Also art songs, Schumann, Schubert is something that I really love listening to. And I think the sort of Weltschmerz feeling comes from that music initially. One of the first albums I listened to as a teenager was by someone called Thomas D. Is a German musician, better known probably as one of the Fantastischen Vier. It's a sort of hip hop band, but he did some dark electronic music at that time. Lektion in Demut was that album that was a heavy influence for me. Then all across the 80s, anything from Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, all of that's really there as well. And as I said, a lot of synthwave and trance as well. So I'm also, grew up in the 90s, so there is some Eurodance that I still listen to as my guilty pleasures. It's just an abundance of different things that you pick up.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to what you have coming up in the future and your solo album coming out. And it was good talking to you, and everybody look her up.
Thank you so much for having me.